Welcome back, students. So, we will be continuing with the second part of this chapter, diversity and discrimination, right? So, just a small recall of what we studied previously. So, we studied three concepts. We studied about stereotypes, we studied about discrimination, and we studied about prejudice. So, prejudice is forming negative attitudes and opinions about people. Discrimination is when you act on them, and stereotypes is when you associate a bunch of traits, right, with a particular group. Now, let's continue further, right, and move on to the next segment of our chapter, right. So now, students, there are people who are not similar to us, right. When I say not similar to us, I mean that people, um, they have, some people are use a wheelchair, or some people uh, cannot read through, they read through braille, right. So these are people of special needs, right. Now, students, I want you to understand them this a fact that we do not call these people as disabled, as handicapped, or impaired anymore. Impaired is when there's loss of a body part, right, that is known as being impaired. But you have to understand this, that these days we do not use this term of being impaired, handicapped, or disabled, but what we use is we say that these are people with special needs, right. So you forever, even from now on, right, keep this in mind, that you refer to these people as people with special needs, right. Now, next what you have is that another point of discrimination that we've seen in our society is caste discrimination, which also is something that we covered in detail in our previous classes. If you recall, in the previous chapter, we were talking about caste discrimination, right. Now, what is caste discrimination? As I told you, was the fact that Indian society was divided on the basis of caste. You have these castes: the Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, untouchables. Brahmins is the 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 class who has all the knowledge. Then Kshatriyas were the warriors, the Vaishyas were the merchants, the landowners, the Shudras were the servants, the commoners, right, the peasants, and finally the untouchables, who were the outcasts of our society, right. They used to clean toilets, right. So this is how the society was divided, on the basis of what occupation people have, and the people who belong to the lowest strata, the lowest position in the society, right, they were oppressed, they were discriminated against, right. So that this discrimination, students, led to hatred and weakness in our society. It weakened our society, right. So a lot of people, now this caste system, students, was a part of our Indian fabric for centuries, right. It's been existing, and the hatred for the untouchables also heightened to the extent that people don't even want to touch them. Yes, they did not want them near them. Can you imagine how the other person who's being discriminated against would feel? If you're not allowed to go to the same temple, you're not allowed to go to the same school, just because you're born in a particular caste, right. So this is something that the society has to and had to say no to, right. There were social reformers. You all, if you all recall, we've studied a couple of social reformers in your previous classes, right. Social reformers are people who changed our society, right. So now this is a person. He is Jyotirao Govindrao Phule, right. So him and his wife, Savitribai Phule, both of them were social reformers who fought against for the caste-based discrimination and did wonders, right? Wonders to improve the lower strata of our society, right? So now students, caste-based discrimination is a social evil. You have to understand this. It is a social evil. It is something that we need to move beyond for our society to work, right? For society to be a better place for everyone to live in, right? And it is yours and mine, it's our responsibility to change this, right? So next, what you have is, student, you have how is equality ensured in our country. So what is constitution? So when I say that constitution ensures that everyone is equal, what I mean, what is constitution? Now constitution, students, is backbone of our society, of, of India. It's the backbone of India. Everything that happens in India, so all the courts that you have, the parliament, everything is run by, on behalf of, on basis of our constitution. Constitution is just a book, but it is not just the book. It has the essence of everything that India stands for, right? And it is our constitution that ensures and guarantees equality for all of us. Now, how you might be wondering, how does constitution ensure equality for all of us? Now, constitution has provisions which says that everyone is equal, right? There will be no discrimination. Sorry, there will be no discrimination on the basis of caste, religion, gender, place of birth, right? It is not allowed. So everyone is equal. The constitution says that India has the power, the state has the power to favor disadvantaged people. Disadvantaged people, people who are discriminated against. The state can favor them. Now, for example, children, if you recall last class, I was talking about how state made provisions to ensure that girls, all the girls get the chance to go to school. So till 14 years of age, they have made education compulsory and free for all, right? So they favored the women and children. How? By making laws, by making rules. Next, all Indians are equal in the eyes of law. No one can be ill-treated. And also, student, if now untouchability is prohibited, if someone is found to be practicing untouchability, they can go to the person who's being discriminated against. He or she can approach the court and say that I'm being discriminated against, and the person who is discriminating can be heavily penalized to the extent that he or she could be put to jail, put behind the jail for like 3 years even. And that is less in some cases, with a lot of fines as well. So yes, all Indians are equal in the eyes of law. You cannot ill-treat someone and get away with it, right? Next is freedom of livelihood and settlement. You can go and live in any part of India. You can go and you can take a job in any part of India, right? You have the freedom of livelihood and to settle anywhere in India as long as you're an Indian, right? Then you have protection from exploitation. Children below 14 cannot be found working in factories, right? Similarly, a lot of other protective measures have been put in place for other sections of the society. So people cannot be exploited, right? You have freedom of religion. So freedom of religion, once again, going back to the previous, the first history chapter that we covered, the fact that if it's non-religion, it is secular. So India is a secular country. All the religions have equal say. They can celebrate they have the freedom to celebrate, propagate, to practice their religion, right? So there is freedom of religion. Next, wages should be equal, right? So equal work, equal pay. So just because someone is a man does not call that he should get better wages because, oh, he's a man. So what? Women put in equal amount of time and effort. She should be paid equally, right? The wages should be equal. Equal pay, equal work, equal pay, right? So these are some of the ways, just some of them, students, that constitution ensures equality within the country. Now, how do they ensure it, students? Now, you might have heard often people say that, oh, I want to go to court. So how can someone just go to court? Can you go to court for anything? No, you cannot go to court for anything, but you can only go to the court on behalf of the rights that have been mentioned in the constitution. If you feel that your rights have been taken away from you, you can go to the court only then. So all the cases that you see are not just like, they cannot just come about. Only if they have their base within the constitution can they be taken up in the court, right? And that is how important the constitution is, and that is how vast the constitution is. Imagine the plethora of cases that are taken up in the court. Everything, any issue that you can think of, it all has its base in the constitution, because the constitution ensures equality of all its citizens, right? So the constitution ensures fundamental rights. We all have fundamental rights, these rights that cannot be taken away by anybody, right? We have a right to equality, right to religion, right to freedom. So we get our rights, which are enshrined in the fundamental rights, which is the third part of the constitution, right? So thank you so much. With this, we complete this chapter, and I hope you understood. If not, feel free to come to me with your doubts.